Hey guys, guess what? I'm early. This is Lisa, aka 80s Child, aka You Brought Me Home on Tumblr, coming at you with another television episode review. Normally I'm not this early. Usually it takes a couple of days for me to get my thoughts together, but I'm pretty straight with this one. This is Charmed, Season 1, Episode 3, Reboot Charmed, entitled Sweet Tooth. This was just out last night, so I thought I would do a little review with thoughts. Now, I know you're probably all wondering, Lisa, why are you still watching this? Last two episode reviews were not positive. Why do you give a shit? And I'll admit, in the past, I have said many times on YouTube, on Tumblr, ad nauseum, that if you don't like a television show, why do you keep watching it? I used to say the same thing to people who had problems with Once Upon a Time, especially in season 7. If all you can do is sit there and complain and basically hate watch, why would you waste your time? Why don't you just turn the channel and watch something else? And I could probably ask myself that same question at this point, because got to episode 3 and it's still not happening for me. I maintain that I usually give new shows that I like to watch 5 episodes before I say I'm done. So we're in episode 3. I'm going to give it 2 more, because I do believe that you can't make a snap judgment call about a brand new series simply from the pilot. You need to give it time to find its footing. You need to give the characters time to find their place and to grow and develop just a little bit. You need to give the show, the characters, time to work together and mesh. And you can't do that from just one episode. It's just not possible. Usually about 5 episodes in, which really, considering when you're talking about how many episodes the show has, and I don't even think this show has a full season order. I think it's got 13 episodes, I want to say. If I'm wrong, comment, but I'm pretty sure it's 13. So really, 5 episodes is at least a quarter of the full season order, if not damn close to half. Anyway, so yeah, things that have not really improved. I mean, I will say that there are little bits and pieces that I think are getting better, but for the most part, it's still not where I'd like it to be. So in this episode, this is the typical Halloween gag episode. I'm not saying that I don't like when television shows do special episodes like for the holidays, whether it's Christmas, Thanksgiving, Halloween, whatever. Because a lot of shows, when they do it properly. And they don't just do it as a gag. There's some actual storyline in there that makes, that gives the characters a reason to have the holiday. In the original Charmed, they didn't actually do a Halloween themed episode. If I'm right, not until season 3 at the least. Or no, it was season 2, because that was when Cole was there. No, I'm wrong. You can tell how long it's been since I've watched Charmed. It was definitely season 3. Because that was when Cole first started making his presence known to them. And that's when he started dating Phoebe. So, yeah. In the beginning of season 3, they had a Halloween-themed episode, but it wasn't just an excuse for the girls to dress up. It was actually a really important episode having to do with their past, with their family line, and they gave the girls the opportunity to go into the past and meet Melinda Warren herself. I mean, they had brought her from the past once, very, very shortly, in the first season to deal with another warlock who she had imprisoned in a ring. But this episode was actually really important to them, not just as sisters, but as witches, because Cole had found out, the exact Melinda Warren's exact birth date, which happened to be Halloween. Wow, big surprise. So he found a way to go back in time to a couple of days before she was born, to attempt to prevent her from being born, because he figured that if he was trying to do like a Terminator Sarah Connor thing, where if she's never born, then the charm ones will never come to be. So they had to go back and stop. And remember, at the time, they didn't know that Cole was Cole. The Cole was a demon. They knew about Cole, but they didn't know that he was a demon. So they didn't realize that it was him that was doing this. They just figured that they believed it was Balthazar. They didn't realize at the time that Balthazar and Cole were the same person. But I digress. The point is, it was a very important episode for their backstory. It brought them together as sisters to understand where they came from, and not just seeing Melinda Warren being born, but also understanding how witchcraft really began and getting really in touch with their roots. Because the magic that they use is not quite the same as it was back then. I mean, it's evolved, as all things do. So it was really interesting for them to be able to see how simplistic that the magic was back then, because the witches at that time didn't have what we have now. They had to make do with what was available. I remember that one scene where they were making a circle, and the witches were using apples, because they said that apples is a very prominent and powerful fruit. And the girls were like, what? But the way that it was explained made sense. And it really opened their eyes as to how truly important their heritage is. So doing it that way was really, really good. That's the kind of way that I like, shows doing these type of gag holiday themed episodes. I like there to be some moral to the story or some reason that they're incorporating it. Otherwise, just don't, because it's a waste, and it's really just as I said, it's just a gag. In this episode, yes, the girls being in costume and having Halloween parties served a purpose, but also it didn't serve a very good purpose at the same time. So, keeping in line with what happened between episode 1 and 2, apparently these episodes take up right after one another. Like, literally, where one episode ends, another begins. Literally. Still not liking this. You need to have some passage. Well, no, that's not entirely true. This episode, a little bit of time has passed, because the girls seem to have gotten a little more familiar with their magic. If you remember at the end of episode 2, Harry said that now that they had dealt with this demon who was pretending to be their mother, and they're pretty sure that the black goo that Macy found at the hospital meant that the harbinger of evil was coming out of the woodwork to destroy them, or to raise the source of all evil, that they had to bone up on their witch skills. Because heretofore, since the first episode, they're still learning. So he wants them to report to witch training. So the first scene in episode 3 is kind of like, I would liken it to the training simulator in the X-Men. If any of you are familiar with X-Men, in the basement of the Xavier School for the Gifted, there's an entire training simulator area where all the X-Men can go train. And Xavier Professor Xavier's programmed all different kinds of programs, all different kinds of simulations into that to give them an idea of what they could expect out in the real world, and they have to adapt and overcome. And anyway, so this is kind of what Harry does. He simulates demons and things coming out of the woodwork, and they have to figure out how to make things work. Unfortunately, the girls' headspaces, all three of them are in completely different places at this point. Macy has her head shoved so far up her ass and is overthinking things to death, as I'm assuming that a scientist would, that she overthinks everything. And because she overthinks everything, she hesitates too much because she's not sure if she's doing the right thing, and she winds up getting herself hurt. Fortunately, none of the injuries are real because it's all fake. Mel is so eager to prove herself and to be the best witch that she can be and be all in that she doesn't think before she does. She doesn't look before she leaps. And she uses a particularly powerful spell that, because she doesn't realize you can't use it when you're too close to the enemy, you have to be at a distance or else it'll blow back on you, she winds up getting her sisters hurt. And if it wasn't for the fact that it was a simulation and not real, the sisters would have sustained some serious injuries. And it seemed to me like Harry was actually making them feel pain to understand what it was like. I mean, they weren't really hurt, but they could still feel the pain of the injuries. Because when she cast that spell, it was sort of like it was kind of like a lightning bolt that you would have seen in the original Charmed from a demon. But she hits this demon that they're going up against with so much force, she literally disintegrates him. And I mean, that's cool. It's cool that they have that kind of spell. I wouldn't think that the witches would have that kind of spell, because usually lightning balls were primarily for warlocks and demons. But you could have just waited till her powers progress, because eventually she's going to go from freezing time or slowing molecules down to speeding them up and blowing things up. It's going to happen naturally for her anyway, if they do the right progression. So she disintegrates this thing, but the blowback is so harsh that the girls go flying back into the wall, and Macy and Maggie went out. Well, Macy, because she hesitated, the demon winds up skewering Maggie in the shoulder because she hesitated using her powers. And because they couldn't get Maggie to, unglue her face from her phone long enough to help out, she didn't see what Mel was doing. She didn't see it coming, and when Mel cast that spell and the blowback happened, it skewered her in the shoulder when she went flying back. I swear to God, the moment I saw her standing there with her phone, and she's like, I've got to make sure what the sorority wants. I was like, can we kill her and replace her with another sister, please? This is nothing against the actress. And just really not liking Maggie, at all. I am really hoping that as the episodes go on, her character will improve. I wanted to chalk this up to her age and the fact that she's flighty as fuck. But you have to remember, Phoebe was the youngest. And Prue said she was notoriously without vision, could not see the forest for the trees. And yet, Phoebe, even as the youngest sister, probably had more maturity than the other two. Actually, 3 when you count Paige. Because she was naturally empathetic. This sister, despite her abilities as a telepath, just doesn't seem to care about anybody but herself. To the tune of almost getting her sisters and herself killed. So the simulation ends, and of course Harry gives them a huge dressing down, saying, Macy, you need to step out of your brain for a minute and just let it naturally flow. You can't always have your cake and eat it too, meaning it can't always be science. You gotta let the magic happen naturally. And he's right, you do. A lot of the beginning of season 1 in the original Charm, the girls, at least Prue, because she was so very, like, inside herself. You know, he thinks he thinks Macy's the control freak, but I wouldn't say that Prue was a control freak. I just think that Prue was very set in her ways and very, like, used to being the oldest and used to taking care of everybody and being in charge. So it was she had the most difficult time acclimating to her powers. The other two, well, Phoebe came to it pretty quickly. The only reason Piper had a little trouble acclimating was because she was afraid of it. Phoebe embraced it, and Prue just wanted it to go away, like she's wanted to control it so it wouldn't rule her life. But anyway, yeah, so Macy needs to just let it happen naturally and stop second-guessing herself. And that's a good thing for Harry to say, because if she keeps letting the science rule her and doesn't let her heart come into play and her emotions just a little bit, it doesn't work very well with magic. Magic isn't always logical. You know, it's not always perfect numbers and results. It's not always tangible. And that's something that Macy really has to learn. But we find out a little bit more about why she is the way she is as the episode wears on. And that's one of the really positive things that I liked about this particular episode. I like learning more about the girls. I like when the girls have the chances to sit down and really talk. Not just bullshit surface level crap, but really sit down and talk. That's when you see the sisterhood really shine through. And so far it's been very rare in these 3 episodes. I will say positively that in the few tiny scenes that they do actually sit down and talk, that it's actually really emotional and they do have growth. I just feel like they need more of that. So he dresses Mel down and says she's too impulsive, that she doesn't think first before using her powers, that she's so eager to, even she says herself, she's all in, she's eager to be the best, she wants to be Super Witch, which kind of reminds me of Paige in a lot of ways when Paige was first learning. She was so eager and so desperate to prove herself because of the shadow of Prue, that she didn't always use magic in the right way. She was very impulsive. And it took her some time to learn. And Mel is that same way. She's, very impulsive, and she didn't think first before she used it. She just figured, well, I gotta protect them, so poof. But she didn't realize that it could get people killed. Magic is something that requires strategy. Strategy. Which these girls do not have at all. And Maggie, oh my god. I wish I could snap her phone in half. I've never seen someone so flighty in my life. Maybe that's chalked up to her age, because she's a freshman in college. So either she's 18, fresh out of high school, or she may be a little bit older than that if she decided to take some time off between high school and college. I can't really be certain. What I do know is that these 3 girls are a fair bit younger than the original Charmed ones were, because when the original Charmed series started, Prue herself was almost 30 when the show started. Even the youngest sister was already into her mid-20s. So there's definitely a generational shift, a generational difference, and these girls are probably good 5 to 6 years younger than the original girls. So their outlooks and their responses to things and how they look at the world, and also how the world has changed between then and now, it's affected how they see things. Harry's pissed at her and wants her to get rid of the phone, or at least get her priorities straight, which I fully agree with. Holy shit. get your priority straight. Because if she's constantly on the phone and is not thinking about what she needs to be thinking about, people can wind up getting killed. So, but this is the bigger deal. I don't like the fact that Harry has to give them witch training. I don't like it. It pisses me off, quite frankly. I remember there was an episode in the original Charm when Leo was up. I think this was after Leo became an elder or something, or maybe before that. But anyway, he was not there, and they sent this woman, another white lighter down. She was kind of a very strict, no impractical outfits, all about the training, whatever. And okay, we all know that it wasn't realistic to how these girls operate. But really, we knew that it was more for laughs than anything really, real. So we could deal with that. But this is like down and dirty training. Okay. Here's the problem. You want them to be powerful witches. You want them to be able to come together and have this power 3. But it's kind of hard to do that when you're doing all the explaining for them. When you're telling them everything about the demons and about the magic and about the spells. I've never seen a show mansplain so much in my life, especially when you consider that it's created and produced by the person who did Jane the Virgin. You would think after that show that she would know better. Yeah, the show definitely fails that, what's it called? The vegetable test. Completely. Fail. It would have been so much more impactful and so much more powerful if the girls, as I said last week, read the fucking book and learned for themselves. Part of the reason why the girls were so strong in their magic is because they learned as they went. Yes, they made mistakes along the way because they didn't have the training, but they only called on Leo when they really needed him. Most of the time, they were able to figure things out on their own. Was it always right? No. Like I said, mistakes were made, but that's all a part of learning. That's what made them so strong. They learned from those mistakes. They improved upon what they learned. They improved upon the potions. They improved upon the spells. And that's why they became so powerful. Because they worked at it. These girls don't work at anything. They don't even read the book. Every time that they come across a demon, Harry! And he just gives them the download, and then they go and power 3, done. Seriously? That doesn't seem like they have a really great appreciation for their magic and for their heritage. There's nothing that's bringing them together. They have other things on the outside that kind of unite them, but the magic is not one of them. So he tells them they really need to get their shit straight because the Harbinger of Death is there, and they've got to figure out who the Harbinger is so that they can kill it before it can do anything to raise the power 3. Before it can do anything to raise the source of all evil. So Macy says she's come up with some scientific solution, some compound that reacts with the black sludge that she found, causes it to get explosive. So she said if she can get the demon, or who they think is the demon, to ingest it, and the person reacts, then they'll know that it's that person. But they know they can't just jam the powder down a person's throat. That's not going to work. So what they decide to do is, since it's Halloween, perfect timing, they decide to bake some Halloween cookies, and they're going to try to figure out a way to get the students to eat them, and whoever reacts. So Macy makes the cookies. The next morning at the house, that night, Mel is looking through the Book of Shadows to try and find some easy peasy spell to get all the demons to come to them, and then they can just like shove cookies down their face, and whichever one reacts will be the one that they're looking for. And I'm thinking to myself, wow, you're stupid. You guys, wait, you want to cast a spell to have all the demons just come to you? Do you want to die? You don't know how to fight them. You don't have that kind of experience. I think the original charmed ones would be looking at them like, seriously? Are you for real right now? So she almost gets caught by Nico. There's a running theme in this episode between Mel and Nico. It seems like each episode there is some issue between the girls and their respective boyfriends. So Mel is having a hard time because she does not like keeping this witchcraft secret from her girlfriend. Because according to her, and this was actually a really powerful scene between her and Harry. Because heretofore, Harry doesn't seem to have been... He seems like he only cares about the girls insofar as they learn their magic so they can conquer evil. He doesn't seem to care about the girls themselves, which really drives me nuts. But I was glad that this scene happened because not only does it give more insight into Mel and what's going on in her mind, but it also gives us some insight into Harry and why he is the way he is. She's having a hard time because her mother knew from a very early age that Mel was gay, and she never made her hide it. She never made her feel bad for that. She always told her that she should express herself, she should be who she was. So she never felt like she had to hide herself from anybody. So this is a difficult thing for her to now have to hide this part of herself from her girlfriend. She doesn't know how to do that, and it's eating her up. There are a number of times throughout the episode where she slows time down to talk to her, or she freezes Nico and she tells her the whole thing, but of course Nico can't hear because she's frozen. And this use of magic starts grating on Harry's nerves to the point where he puts a bracelet on her wrist that is kind of like a homing device, sort of. It's, I guess you could call it a LoJack, that every time she uses her magic, he'll be alerted, and he'll show up, and he has to make sure she's not using it for the wrong reasons, or because he is right. You know, she was using it in the middle of the college campus in a busy hallway where anybody could have seen it. She was using it in a crowded classroom where anybody could have seen it, and she could have exposed magic if she wasn't careful. So Mel takes the cookies to the college campus, and she decides she's going to give them out to the students as like a pre-finals or whatever, pre-Halloween party kind of treat, hoping to see if somebody reacts some kind of way. And that's the first time that Harry gets pissed at her for using her magic, because as she's talking to two of the college students, they mention that the coma girl, who had been mentioned by the sorority, is awake. Mel didn't know. So she freezes them to go look at their phone to see about this girl. And that's when Harry's like, are you serious? I mean, really? And of course, Mel, the only reason she can come up with it, that for Harry to be so down on her about using her magic is, well, you just don't like having to deal with a strong woman, do you? Okay. I'm just going to say here right at the outset, I was really hoping that the misandry and the hyper-feminism bullshit would have tapered off by now, but apparently this running idea of Mel being a rabid, anti-male, lesbian, crazy person is just not going to go away. And it's making it very difficult for me to like Mel. Really difficult for me to like Mel. And before anybody goes off going, oh, you're just anti-gay, you're homophobic. No. Could not give a shit less that she is a lesbian, gay, whatever, don't care. What I care about is that she has this irrational hatred of men for no reason other than the fact that they have a penis. Not all of these men have, most of these men don't even know her and have never done anything wrong to her, and yet she hates them regardless simply for being male. It is fucking ridiculous. And the show does not do a very good job of putting men in a positive light. One of the first victims of Coma Girl, who's actually been possessed by the Harbinger demon, is I guess what Mel calls an incel. He's a podcaster. He's a male podcaster that talks about how he hates feminists and how they're rabid and the Me Too movement is horrible and blah, 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 blah. She goes after him first. Apparently she needs the blood of virgins to survive or something. How terribly cliche, right? The second person she goes after is a college girl who is a member of, I guess you'd call the purity police. That she believes that that everybody should not have sex until they're married or something. And so she's hosting her own like anti-Halloween party, purity party, and she's the only one that shows up. But anyway, yeah, the misandry, the anti-man crap is really getting heavy-handed. Not just on the nose, but like I said before, enough to... It's like flashing neon lights hit me over the head with a baseball bat. It's just too much. It's one thing to be up with the events, with current events of what's going on in the world right now. And if you want to mention it, at least do it within the context in a way that makes sense, and not just to throw shit out there just so you can say, we're a woke show. Too much. Just too much. And a horrible representation for LGBT. I mean, honestly, horrible. I prefer Nico as a better representation of LGBT because she's a much more natural, like, normal lesbian person. Just that doesn't let her sexuality define her. She's just a really cool person who just who is gay. Okay, moving on. It's like no big deal, right? And they could have gone that way with Mel, which would have been much better. Because I mean, I can't speak for the LGBT community because I'm not LGBTQ, but I would like to think that they just want to be represented as normal people, like anybody else in the world, and not as rabid feminazis who have a horrible hatred of men for no real reason. I understand hating men that try to oppress women and use their power to oppress them, like the professor did. I understand that and fully support that part of it, but other men that haven't done anything wrong, yeah, that's a problem. And it really needs to quit, because everything that came out of her mouth when she was talking to Harry was all that, oh, you just hate me because I'm a strong, powerful woman. You want me to have this power. No. It has nothing to do with it at all. And the moment Harry uttered fake news, I was ready to rip his tongue out of his face. Holy fucking shit. Okay, I know, like I said, you're trying to be the woke show, but seriously, you need to quit with the heavy-handed, like, current event crap. Me Too was bad enough, but the fake news, please stop. Please stop. Please stop. So, the other plot with Macy is that Galvin is trying to move their relationship along a little bit, but Macy is kind of got a wall going because she's not really good with people, I guess you could say. She tells Mel, or Maggie, is it? Yeah, she tells Maggie that when she was little and her father sent her to a boarding school, there was only she and only one other girl were actually people of color. Everybody else was white, so they had to fit themselves into some minority category in order to be accepted. And the other girl was the funny, brash, sexy girl, and she was the quiet, nerdy, nerdy girl. And that's kind of how she's always been. So she's always kept herself, and she's never really engaged herself with people. So it's very hard for her to emotionally invest herself. And she's a little scared. She's kind of afraid to move her relationship with Galvin along. She's afraid how he'll see her, especially if he knows that she hasn't had sex yet. She is a virgin. And it's surprising the reactions of the other two girls when they realize this, because they have to attract the demon outside and they need virgin blood. And they know everyone in that house is definitely not. The only person that is Macy. And the looks on their face when they realize, I don't know whether to be a little appalled or I think they were surprised to learn this, because they assumed that if she was the oldest, that she would have, crossed that bridge already. But she's very different from them. So far, she's the one that I kind of like the best. She's the one I think I relate to the most. So, the other story with Maggie is, okay, we know last week she broke up with her high school boyfriend, Brian. So, in this episode, we are introduced to a brand new character, played by Nick Harwood. His name is Parker. Now, Maggie's still trying to get in, she's still trying to rush the Kappas, and they need her to raise money so that for some kind of Halloween party, that if she doesn't do something to wow them, that they're going to kick her out. So she takes on a couple extra shifts at the restaurant where she is a waitress, and that's where she meets Parker. He helps her out when she is dealing with a particularly nasty customer who's a total jerk, treats her like shit, and he stands up for her, which is nice. I mean, I'm sure she could have handled it herself, but it was nice that he kind of played the white knight a little bit. He comes out, and he came off as a very nice guy. But wouldn't you know that by the end of the episode, you realize that he's actually the blonde chick who is in charge of the fraternity, the one who's completely vapid and everybody can't stand because she's a total bitch. Parker is her boyfriend. What's even worse is that the whole reason that she had the other sorority sisters meet at the restaurant to discuss the party was that they knew that they knew that Maggie worked there. And I think they were purposely trying to embarrass her for the fact that she had a regular job, whereas the rest of them, I'm assuming, have come from daddy money, so they don't have to, work. And that's vapid to the extreme and just really bitchy. Like, really bitchy. So she realizes that she has to impress them somehow. So she decides to kill two birds with one stone. They need to attract the demon, and she also wants to get everybody into the house for this party. They need to attract people. They need to get people to eat these cookies so they can figure out who the demon is. So what better way than to throw a Halloween party? Not only will they be having everybody there to eat the cookies, but she can also impress the sorority girls. Oh my god. I swear Maggie needs to get her priorities fucking straight. This shit is ridiculous. She's so concerned about impressing the sorority girls who are complete vapid bitches and really are not worth her time whatsoever, that she lets everything else fall to the wayside. She starts using a spell because she's afraid she's not going to be able to have enough supplies ready for this party. She doesn't have enough decorations. Apparently she doesn't have enough punch or whatever, and she's afraid she's not going to be able to afford it because she was only able to pay for just a few things. But she wants the party to be banging, so she uses a spell involving some sort of blue powder, and when she puts it between her fingers and she snaps her fingers, it creates a cloud, and whatever she thinks of, it appears. Like she does this, and then there's a smoky punch bowl, and she does it again, and the decorations, and then she does it again, and she makes a beautiful princess outfit, and all I can think to myself is, oh girl. Oh hun. Someone forgot to teach them the most important rule of witchcraft. Personal fucking gain. Of course, they were using shit for personal gain in the last 2 episodes too, but not to this extent. I mean, her entire house is a testament to personal gain spells. She decks out the entire house, her dress, everything, and I'm pretty sure she did the same thing for Mel's outfit, and she also did it for Macy's. So the entire house is a personal gain, like, fountain. The sorority girls are impressed, but Harry is not happy because he knows that Maggie's going to pay the price. Of course, Maggie at the time doesn't care because as long as she's got the Kappas on her side, hey, Now, before this happened, Mel's first idea was that the coma girl must have been the one who was possessed. That's why she managed to wake up just out of nowhere. So she decides if she's the first person she's going to try to give a cookie to. Harry's not entirely sure if she's right, but he says, okay, go ahead, try it. So she gives her a cookie, and it's obvious that this girl is possessed. But she's very good at hiding it, even after she puts the cookie in her mouth. And when Mel leaves the room, she pulls it out of her mouth and throws it away. So for the moment, she doesn't think that it's the girl, but she's still not sure. So the girls come home. They see the house is all decked out. Maggie's all dressed up in this princess costume. They're like, what the fuck are you doing? Oh my god, what the fuck? We got a demon we got to deal with. What the hell? And she's like, well, we can kill 2 birds with one stone. We can get all the people here to try the cookies and see who reacts. And also I can impress my sorority sisters. You can tell Harry at this point is ready to just be like, I mean, they don't seem to listen to anything that he tells them at all. It's one thing to be independent and feminist and all. It's another to be completely fucking stupid. So they all get decked out. Everyone seems to be having a really good time. And then Nico, while she's talking to Mel, gets a phone call from the police that one of the college students disappeared. And she doesn't seem to really be taking it seriously. Well, she thinks it's just because it's a guy, that he's probably sleeping behind a bush. You can tell by her tone that she didn't really care all that much because it was a dude. But once more people began disappearing, then she started to care. I really don't think the show is taking the right tone when it comes to men. This is a problem. Y'all need to fix it. So Nico has to leave. Mel is not happy. She really wanted to talk to her, but she made a promise to Harry she wouldn't say anything, but it's becoming increasingly more difficult. Harry tells them there's no time to waste. The creature is going to be here soon. They need to figure out who it is. So they decide they're going to put up a protection spell around the house so that nobody can leave. And then they're going to try to draw the demon out. So they go outside. So they set everything up. They try to cast a spell. It doesn't work. And that's when they realize that it's not going to work because the demon is already inside the house. So as I said before, Macy uses her blood because she's a virgin to lure the demon outside. They go on a chase with this demon in the woods, and again, the girls are not listening to each other. They're not working together like they should be. And again, Mel decides to make a very stupid move like she did at the beginning. And she casts that same spell, only this time it doesn't disintegrate her, it just immobilizes her. And she winds up very nearly getting Macy killed as a result. So, fortunately, Harry's able to heal her. But that's when Mel realizes that she's made a mistake. And that she needs to stop constantly trying to be the best and put herself in there. And the interesting thing is the conversation that Mel has with Harry. Harry relates to her story about a charge he had before then named Fiona, who was hot-headed, very independent, and didn't always listen to good advice. And she was in love with somebody who didn't know about magic. And even though he told her that she was not allowed to say anything, she found some way to tell this person anyway. It didn't end well. And she wound up being committed to an asylum, and the doctors filled her up with so much drugs that it truly made her believe that she was crazy. And she wound up, I believe, taking her own life. And it's something that Harry never really recovered from. He felt like he had let her down, and he didn't. So now he's hyper vigilant to the max. It's an interesting part of his past, and I really do hope we learn more about his past, because I think that Harry could be a much more interesting and fleshed out character if he wasn't so tight all the time. We need to find a way to fit some emotion in there somewhere. But it helped Mel to understand the position that he was coming from and what was in his heart instead of just barking orders. So for the first time, she actually managed to sympathize with his perspective, even though he's male. And he also realized that putting her on a leash wasn't the way to go. So he took the bracelet off so she could have that freedom back. And she also said that she apologized, that she was wrong. She'd become hot-headed and she wasn't thinking before using her powers, and now she was going to make sure that she knew what she was doing before she used her magic like that, because she didn't want anybody to get hurt. She almost got her sister killed. That was like the boom, the wake-up call. She almost got Macy killed. If it wasn't for Harry, Macy would have died. So they've incapacitated this demon, and for a second, I'm sure stepped in after the battle was over. So I wasn't sure what exactly the result was, but I was worried that they had killed this girl, because the girl herself, for a minute there, I was kind of worried what they were going to do to this girl, because As of yet, I have yet to see them actually give a shit about an innocent person. It's all about killing demons, and there's nothing in there about protecting innocence at all. And that is a very far cry from what the original series used to be. And it seems like the girls only worry about other people's safety as an afterthought. Even Harry's kind of the same way, which drives me nuts. I was afraid that they had killed her, and this girl was innocent. She was possessed through not of her own doing. So I was hoping that they would at least attempt to try and save her. So apparently she was still alive. Cleanup while the girls dealt with what was going on in the house. And once everybody left, they realized they were going to try to put it out of sight, out of mind, but they couldn't, because based on the growling coming from upstairs, they realized that there was no way to dispose of this girl, because she, like I said, this was an innocent girl who was possessed. So she's chained up in their attic, and they have to figure out what they're going to do with her. I'm gratified to know they're going to at least attempt to save this girl, because she doesn't deserve to die. What happened to her was not her fault. So, I don't know. I guess we'll see how it goes into episode 4. Like I said, I will give it 5 episodes. And if you continue to see me doing reviews after episode 5, I think I will have sailed into the realm of hate watch. I don't like the idea of doing that. I've always been a firm believer that if you don't like a show, don't watch it. Don't put yourself through the torture of watching something just because you hate it. But I guess we will see how things go. I'm really hoping to see some more character development with the girls. It's definitely needed. The scripts are still bad, and they definitely need improvement. The girls don't have a lot to work with. They're dealing with what they've got, and I know they can do better, because their reactions to things are really cheeky at best and not very natural. So there's definite work that needs to be done.
Turn the godforsaken music off so we can have a conversation.
Harry is improving by bits and pieces, but still needs work. I really don't know what else to say, because there's so little emotional investment in the show and so little emotional depth in the show. It's hard to find things to talk about. But all right, anyway, I'll be back with you guys next week for episode 4. Hopefully it improves. We shall see. Wishing you guys a happy Halloween. Hope you get a whole bunch of candy and have a whole lot of fun. See you guys later. Bye.